You're listening to The Young, where young people have real conversation on how to live a life worth living.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to The Young. My name is Nicole Stark, and today I am joined with Pastor Kimberly. Thank you so much
How fun to be here.
For being part of our podcast. This is actually our season finale.
Wow.
So this is our last one. We've shot 10 podcasts, and this is it right here.
This is it.
So it's going to be so good. But hey, before we get started going into these questions and kind of going deep, we want to know Pastor Kimberly a little bit more. So would you tell us one fun fact about yourself? Fun fact. Not really everybody knows. It's a good fun fact.
I'll tell you one.
All right.
I was such a crazy Dodger fan.
Oh.
Like, I'm talking crazy Dodger fan.
Wow.
In my high school years, my young adult years, I was there probably almost maybe 20, 30 games a summer with some friends.
Goodness.
And so somebody just said, hey, why don't you just work here? I ended up working for the Dodgers. I was an usher.
Wow.
And after about a month or two, I got to usher behind home plate in the season tickets. I had the spot. It was phenomenal.
No.
So I got to protect players from the crowd. I know.
Oh,
I got to chase after the beach
Baseball?
balls.
Oh,
no,
wow.
the beach balls. That was so embarrassing because I am so uncoordinated.
Oh gosh.
And it was just super fun season.
Wow.
They paid me to watch Dodger games. It was
That is
amazing.
so cool. I would really support you, except I'm a huge Angels fan.
Mm.
So Dodgers, we haven't been doing good, but I'm really glad the Dodgers lost.
Wow, this may end the podcast
Well, you know, I'm a just Angels fan all the way.
Anaheim.
I grew up in Anaheim.
I know, but you have to remember, it took a Dodger, Mike Scioscia, to get the Angels on the map.
Ouch,
That's
she
all
got
I'm
me
saying.
there.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay, well,
Right.
with that, we want to just dive right into these questions. So I've got a few questions to ask you. We went around and asked some young adults, now what are some things that we can ask Pastor Kimberly? And you know, the first one that really stood out to me was this thing called endurance.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I'm 23, and we have a lot of high schoolers, 14 through 18.
Yeah.
We have a lot of young adults. And I heard a statistic that once people hit 18, the drop rate goes down.
It's huge.
What was the key thing for you? Not in ministry, not serving, but how did Jesus draw you, and how did you fall so in love with him that you are where you are now, and you are still madly in love with Jesus?
You know what? I do have to thank my grandparents, particularly my grandmother. As a little girl, she instilled in me the love for Jesus.
Wow.
And sometimes we don't realize how important it is that we've had people in our early years to bring that into us. But she would tell me stories about Jesus.
Wow.
And she would talk to me about him all the time. You know that Deuteronomy, there's a passage that says, talk to your children when they're asleep and they're awake, when they're constantly. Just talk to them about Jesus. So that was a huge influence.
Wow.
So I grew up loving Jesus.
Yeah.
Now it was challenged in my teenage years. And I faced some challenges that really, it could have thrown me over, but I think I was just rooted in this love of God. But here's what I found. I found a God who pursued me.
Wow.
I found a God who genuinely loved me.
Yeah.
My walk with Jesus, I'm 53.
Okay.
It is more precious today than ever before. And part of the joy in my walk with him is that he is so real. He doesn't need me to be perfect.
Yeah.
I can come to him as I am with my victories, but I come to him with my greatest challenges, sometimes the brokenness, and his graciousness and his love and his demonstration of who he is in my life. How can I not?
Wow.
How can I not serve him?
Yeah.
I've watched him be faithful. See, I should have been a broken basket case. My life should look different, but because of Jesus' love in my life and his pursuit of me and his faithfulness, my life it's not perfect.
Wow.
Oh, but it's so good.
Wow.
It's so good. There's just evidence of him everywhere.
Yeah.
But part of the joy, I'll tell you, is coming to him as I am. And I know I alluded to it.
Okay.
But it's just coming to him as I am consistently.
Wow.
Not trying to figure things out and then coming to him. Because I struggled with that in my earlier years.
Yeah.
But just this reality of, Lord, this is where I'm at. You're so good. You know all things. And yet you love me.
Come on.
And your grace is available. Your mercy is available.
Wow.
And that fellowship with him, he's irresistible.
Wow.
When you really know who he is irresistible.
That's so good.
Because he's safe. He's trustworthy.
That's so good.
He's good.
So good.
He's powerful.
Yep.
How could I not? Where else would I go?
That's
what would
so
I
good.
have to turn to? Right? So he's not a crutch, but he is my whole life. I have no other life.
Wow.
But it's taken through seasons where it's been awesome.
Yeah.
And then challenges where I've had to fight to stay close. I had to fight through even feeling like he wasn't even there. But going back and saying, no, God, I know you're real.
Wow.
And I'm sticking with you because you're sticking with me.
I have a question, and this wasn't part of the 3, but I just want to ask, was there ever a moment where you felt like I want to give up? And how did you fight through the, I want to quit?
Yeah.
But you're worth, like, how did you fight through that?
It's probably been more than once. I'll tell you the one that stands out. At 15, I was really, I was discouraged, depressed. I had been dating a guy, crossed some sexual lines. I never thought I would.
Wow.
So I was really down on myself. And I actually had considered suicide, except I was afraid of what happened after. If you commit suicide, do you not go to heaven? What does that look like? The fear kept me from taking action because I was that discouraged and I wanted to give up. Not just on him, but wanted to give up. Period. It was just so difficult to walk through some of the things I was walking through and feeling so hopeless. But and here's probably the endurance part. I went to a park because I was very desperate and I just said, God, I need you to do something in me. And it's actually the first time I ever remember God speaking to me. I've never heard him audibly. But I had this knowing that he actually had a great plan for my life.
Wow.
And I don't know how else to tell you, in the midst of my brokenness and sadness and wanting to give up, there was this, he actually does have a plan for my life.
So good.
And it brought hope again. That was probably the worst moment.
Wow, and that's so good. That's so good to know, just because sometimes I feel like we think like you're a pastor and you've never gone through any of these things, but the reality is we're all human.
We're all human.
Right? And so this is going to kind of flow right into our next question here is, so have you ever missed it? Have you ever missed it? And if so, how did you get back on track?
Yeah.
Like, how did that look like for you?
Well, Jerry can help in how many times I've missed it, but I'll tell you the one that stands out to me, speaking of my younger years, was because I had come from a broken home, alcoholic dad, never had the words of affirmation from a father that said, I love you, that I felt safe with. I didn't realize, but I looked for that love and security in men and guys. They were boys and guys at the time, right?
Right, high school.
But high school. And my mom tried to tell me that because I started in relationships early, like at 15. And then that would, one lasted 9 months, and then I'd go right into another relationship, and my mom would tell me, you're looking for love, you're looking for what you're not receiving. And I, typical teenager at that time, I just thought, these guys are great guys. I spent a lot of my teenage years involved in the drama of giving my life prematurely to somebody else. And it distracted me from growing in my gifts, discovering who I was.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I invested a lot of energy, time, focus.
Yeah. And
there was really not much but pain attached because I crossed physical lines. And they all ended up in a breakup.
Wow.
Right?
Yep.
And so, so those were probably about 6 of my most formative high school, young adult years, where if I could look back, I would totally do it differently.
Wow.
How did I get back on track?
Yeah.
Well, honestly, again, my grandmother comes into play because she prayed that there would be an end to my wrong relationships. And prayed
that's
for
like a strong prayer.
It was. She prayed Jerry in. She would tell you.
Oh, wow.
I prayed them out. I prayed him in. She gets all the credit. But at that point in my life, I had already made a decision to break off a relationship I should have broken off. And that re-engage in the Lord of I am laying my whole life, not just most of it.
Yeah.
But including this
so good.
was huge. That got me back on track, and it was crazy enough. I met Jerry not that long after.
Oh, wow.
And it wasn't a rebound, and it wasn't a wrong thing. It was a God thing, but it first took me to say, I'm giving every part, including this.
Yes.
Wow. Go ahead.
I love how you said you had to fully surrender.
Yeah.
When did you fully surrender? How old were you when you were like?
I think that 19 is when there was a full surrender. But I'll tell you what, I find myself having to fully surrender repeatedly.
That is so good.
Because I'm not walking two different lives, but there are things that God calls us to. Yeah. That our flesh doesn't want to do anything about, that our emotions don't want to do. Right. There are things that He will ask of us in our journey that it's not the natural thing to do. And so I found fully surrendering is every day.
So you would say you're fully surrendering every single day. I love that, because I think sometimes we think it's one and done. Like, God, I give my life to you.
Right.
And now, all right, I'm good. Have you ever wrestled with your dreams when it came to certain things? How did you fully surrender your dreams to God? Mm-hmm. Were you... Because this is my question. My next question is Jesus really worth it? Mm. Is He... And we have been talking about, across all of our other 9 podcasts, really the underlining subject is get to know who Jesus is. Just get to know Him. Yeah. It's not about... And I remember when I was 15 years old, my parents were going through a really rough time. And I remember I found myself in a room, not much bigger than this, to be honest with you. And I remember I cried out to God, and I said, God, I don't want a relationship with you like my parents have. And I even remember I said, my pastors, I don't want a relationship with you like my pastors have. Yeah. I want my own Nicole, Jesus, this is how we this is my relationship with you. And the underlining message has always been, if you know God, you can trust God. If you know Him, you can follow Him. Yeah. And so is Jesus, is He really, at your age, after you've walked through what you walked through, is He really worth it?
He is so worth it. I can't even imagine what my life would look like if it hadn't been for fully surrendering consistently. So when I think my biggest point of surrender was at 18, 19, when I walked away from a relationship that I really wanted to work. Yeah. But then seeing what He did by bringing Jerry. Wow. I mean, it was dying to a dream, because I'd loved this guy since I was 13. Wow. So he'd been he'd been my first and really only love to that point. Wow. And it was dying to everything on the inside because I knew this isn't what God has.
That's so good.
And so you lay something down, and of course the mind says you're never going to have. You're giving up something. Right. But I found out the more I lay things down that He's asking me to lay down, then He's not withholding good. He's trying to reserve me for the best. Oh, that's so good. And so I'll tell you that Jerry in my life was one of the first, most greatest evidences of a surrendered life. And he was a constant reminder of, you gave something you thought you wanted for something that God had, and it came with so much more than you would have ever imagined. So it is still a decision to surrender. But I think because I've walked now with Jesus a long time, I have so much evidence of His faithfulness when I just lay it down and do what He says. My heart is that, I want to get to a point where it doesn't even have to be long conversations. That if He simply asks of me something, even if it's my greatest dream, I just go, of course. Wow. I wish I was there with everything. Right. But that is my heart, and I let Him know often. Wow. I want to be at a place where you guide me with your eye. And if your eye's telling me go here, though I wanted to go there, we don't even have to talk about it. I trust you that much. That's my heart. And when you ask Him to be that, He begins to teach you who he is, but he begins to teach you how to walk
Yeah.
with him in this way. And I'll tell you what, hardships are some of the greatest opportunities to find out who Jesus really is.
Wow, that's so good. Yeah.
God doesn't, God's not tempting us, trying to hurt us.
Right.
We live in a fallen world.
Yeah.
And there are afflictions, there are hard things. If we
Right.
think following Jesus, everything
easy,
now is
yeah.
just easy. No. Following Jesus requires
Yeah.
dying to yourself. It requires looking to him. But again, what else is there?
That's so good.
But in the hardships, when you face them and you don't let go of him,
Yeah.
and you stay with him through the hardships, oh my, where you get to the other side, you just know more of God.
Wow.
And even just for me since August, I had some hard stuff. And I was on my face, not as a pastor, as Kimberly, on my face saying, God, I need you to show yourself to me in this situation, because it's not just a one time. Right?
That's good, yeah.
We can trust him in this area, but then there are challenges that will come, and there are things that, sometimes you feel like where you are, it's like unless God shows up, you're in serious trouble.
Right.
And then that calling out from the Lord, or to the Lord, for repeatedly, day after day, I know him now more than I've ever known him. And the beautiful thing with Jesus is you don't ever know him fully. So now you got it. He just continues to reveal these sides. But the more I know him, the more I know who I am.
Wow.
The more I know how I'm to view things. The more I know the grace and the power he's given me to walk in victory. So following Jesus is not boring.
Yeah.
He's real.
It's real.
He's real.
It's real. I want to ask you this, and then we'll kind of wrap it up here. But I heard this statistic. And but it basically said that a majority of Gen Z, which is I think from 95 to now, deal with anxiety because they refuse to deal with pain. How have you dealt with? How have you walked through pain?
That I've heard that too. The avoidance of pain causes this tremendous amount of stress. Nobody wants pain.
Right.
I mean,
no,
you really.
That's true.
I'm not like, hey, come on, bring it on.
Right.
Pain is a part of life because we live in a broken world, not because God is bad or unjust. But the Bible is very clear. We live in a world that is still under the sway of the enemy, who only comes to steal, kill, and destroy. He doesn't even show up unless he's trying to kill, steal, or destroy. Steal, kill, or destroy. So pain is part of life. But when you know that you can walk through the hardships with somebody that is committed to leading you into victory. See, when you have hope, pain is not debilitating.
Wow.
When you think the circumstance is bigger than God is, or God's willingness to help you. Most people know that God is powerful. I shouldn't say most. Many people know God's powerful. Not as many people know that God is willing to be powerful in their lives.
Wow.
So when you're in the middle of pain, if you think it's you and it's up to you to deal with it, it can be overwhelming. But when you walk through and yet you have this Jesus who describes himself as a shepherd, who leads you beside the still waters, who restores your soul, then you realize, okay, I may be going through a difficult time, but this is not the end of where I'm going to I'm going to end,
good.
right? He's with me. He's with me, and I found, my soul needs to be restored. Absolutely. We've walked through some hard things in our lives, and painful. And trying to be strong and a woman of faith, sometimes we deny the depth of pain. And it was probably 2-3 years, maybe 3 years ago, that I realized that in trying to be strong, I was not avoiding, but not acknowledging some deep pain I was feeling based on some circumstances. And when I finally caught on that, oh my goodness, there's deep pain, I was able to bring it to the Lord and say, Lord, you're my shepherd. I need you as my shepherd to restore my soul, because my soul has some hurt, feelings and aches. And then he ministers He ministers to you.
Yeah.
So pain doesn't define you. We are all going to experience pain.
Yeah.
But when you know who he is,
so good.
Then pain is not hopelessness.
That's so good. And I, personally speaking, I've gone through some things where I remember, I grew up and I wasn't allowed to cry. Right? So I remember I played basketball and I had fractured both my ankles twice and then sprained this one twice and this one time. I did not cry one time. And it was I remember one time specifically, it was during a game, and I knew I could feel, it's just specific pain to it. And I remember I heard, oh, she won't cry. From the crowd, she won't cry. And I grabbed my jersey and I bit into it as hard as I can. And I remember I got off, went to the bench, wrapped my ankle, and I finished that game.
Girl.
And I remember but I was on adrenaline, so I didn't really feel it. I get off, and my ankle is just so swollen. And I remember the Lord started to teach me. And it was when I was 17, 18, the Lord started to teach me and start to invite me in. Because what I realized was I thought I could do it.
Yep, I got it.
I'm strong on my own. I've got it. And I remember when I went through some stuff, I've come to this place where I'm if I'm going to cry, I'm going to cry with Jesus.
Yeah.
And I'm going to invite you in, and I'm going to allow you to heal me. Even though it hurts right now, God, could you come into this place? Yeah. And I think we've just got a generation who's just so okay with being strong. I've got this. And what I've realized is it's okay if you allow the Lord to come in and lead you. And so
why walk around with a fractured ankle when someone is inviting to completely heal it?
Wow. That's so true.
Right?
Yeah.
No, he is a healer, completely.
Right.
Completely.
Yeah. Well, what's so funny? I broke this finger. You see how it's like that? It's it's broken.
Oh, wow.
And here's the funny part about this. It's not funny, but I broke this finger, and the doctor told me, you have to put a cast on. And it was right before season, and I said, I have to play. I'm not allowed. I have to play. And he goes, if you play, it's not going to heal right. And this has become my constant reminder to not allow pain to heal me in such a way that I'm not completely healed.
Yeah.
And so now I remember I was I'm not going to do it. And now look, it's my ligaments are all like this, but the Lord has just consistently reminded me, hey, invite me in. And it's been a crazy journey. But hey, we're about to conclude here. Yeah. Before we conclude, we have this fun thing that we call the last 30. Okay, so we've got Camille. She's going to do this last 30 for us, and I'll start. I used to have the guest start, but I realized Nicole's the worst idea I've ever had. So I'll start. I'll give you my last 30. Okay. You've got a 30-second timer right here. You've only got 30 seconds.
Got it.
Okay, so I'll start, and then you'll go. So here's my last 30. We're going to look into this camera right here. Ready, Cam? All right, my last 30 would be, following Jesus is so worth it, and continue to seek him. Get to know who Jesus is, and I'm telling you, when you taste and see, you'll realize God is so, so good. So follow Jesus. All right, that was 15 seconds.
Ooh, all right.
15, so you've got your 30. Here we go.
All right. You were created by a God who designed you intentionally, specifically. I know your parents had something to do with you being here, but before them, you were already in the heart of God. And the fact that you are here on this earth is a good God. But he doesn't want to just be your creator. He wants to be the one who walks with you through the great times, through the most challenging of times, but not just to walk with you to comfort you, to walk with you to cause you to be victorious and to be used to do great and mighty things here on earth.
That is so, so good. Well, Pastor Kimberly, thank you so much for joining us on our finale season episode. Right. So thank you. And hey, young family, season 2 will be coming out shortly. So stay tuned, stay connected. But other than that, we love you. We hope this encourages you and have the greatest week ever. Peace.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to the Young Podcast. This is it for season 1. Tune in January for season 2. All right, guys, we love you. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at The Rock Jesus Club. And if you ever need to email us at therockjesusclub@gmail.com. Thanks, guys. Love you. Bye.